lights are definitely on for the new president and CEO of Overture Center for the Arts. Meet Ted DeDee this morning on For the Record. Good morning, I'm Neil Heinen. It seems like a long time ago now, but it hasn't even been a year since there was talk of Overture going dark. Since then, a private fundraising campaign brought in $2.4 million and a new CEO came aboard. His name is Ted DeDee, and this is his first appearance on For the Record. And Ted, welcome. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
When did you start?
Started April 2nd.
All right. So before we get into the fundraising and the season and some of the things you've got in mind, just talk a little bit, Ted, if you would, about your background and what brought you here.
I've been a venue manager, specifically specializing in the performing arts, for my entire career, for close to 40 years. So I've managed performing arts centers, large and small, in different cities around the country. So I came to Overture with, I think, a good broad base of working with local organizations, nonprofit organizations, resident organizations, symphonies, ballets, opera companies, and the like, as well as city governments, state governments, private nonprofit management, and for-profit management as well. I think a very good basis by which to be able to come here to Madison and take on the responsibilities at Overture.
Yeah, but what did you, how did you sort of reconcile the challenges that were ahead? I mean, first of all, very unique physical structure, and its history, of course, is pretty special. And then the challenges that you walked right into, eyes wide open, I trust.
Absolutely. Not only eyes wide open, but also looking at the activity that has taken place in the last year, especially the amount of community effort that's gone into getting Overture Center, as of January 1 of this year, to be a new organization, a new breath of life, if you will, to take the organization from a city management organization to one that was operated specifically by a nonprofit, an organization that could be flexible in its management structure, in the way it did business, as well as to look for opportunities to increase earned revenue through ticket sales and programming that's done, as well as through contributed revenue, the fundraising that we do throughout the course of the year that's necessary to help support the activities.
And we will get into some of the nuts and bolts during this half hour, but just with that set of expectations as you came in, any surprises that kind of jumped out at you?
No surprises whatsoever. I think I was pleasantly surprised, if you will, by that volunteer effort. That was at all efforts within the community, starting with the board of directors. It's an incredible group of people that assembled themselves to make a commitment to Overture going forward in the future, and to rally their friends and neighbors and relationships to be able to help in Overture's future as well. I was also struck, again, probably not surprisingly, that there was an incredible group of people within Overture itself. The city employees that ran Overture when it first opened, that took the risk of leaving employment of the city and elected to become now employees of this new nonprofit organization with no guarantees whatsoever for the future whatsoever. But they did take that leap of faith that, and using their conviction that Overture was an organization that was worthwhile working for and worthwhile putting together programs that would be enjoyed by people in the community. Yeah. So between the volunteers and the employees, that made for an incredible basis by which for me to come in and to take that responsibility and help everyone with future direction.
Put the $2.4 million in context for us, would you, Ted? How important was it to raise that money, by the end of the fiscal year, and what does it mean going forward?
Very simply, the importance was to be able to show that this new organization could do it, that could rise to the challenge that was placed as part of the arrangement and the agreement with the city, as part of the funding structure, to be able to garner support from a larger portion of the community than had been supporting Overture up to that point. The 2.4 million figure, for instance, was 3 times the amount of fundraising support that previously had been raised for Overture. And to take that amount of money that needed to be raised to several steps way above that was critically important. And it was one of those activities that I think everybody was very concerned about, of whether it could take place, but really kind of everyone rolled up their sleeves and got to work and started to garner those relationships and use those relationships within the community. People who had been touched by Overture in the past, but also people that could be convinced to give towards the first year goal.
And is this going to be an ongoing part of Overture operations into the foreseeable future?
Fundraising will always be a part of, and is a part of any nonprofit organization's survival, and it will be a part of Overture's as well. Whether it's $2.4 million or $2 million or $3 million is yet to be seen, and may vary from year to year based on the programs that we are offering to the community.
So, just so we can get past this idea of the threat to Overture, and there were a couple of times there where I think the community was sort of grappling with the idea: could this building really fail? And I don't think any of us know really how close we were to that point. But looking forward, Ted, do you feel like we're on pretty firm foundation?
I think we are on a firm foundation, and actually the foundation is not on the fundraising effort, but on the earned revenue side. And that is what Overture does to sell tickets, to generate income for the sustainability of the organization. In our budget going forward in this new fiscal year starting July 1, for instance, earned revenue represents 77% of our entire budget. That means we are asking people to donate or contribute to the remaining amount. 77% is huge compared to other performing arts centers around the country. I know.
That you've worked at?
That I've worked at.
Interesting.
It's generally between 50 and 65%. So with Overture looking at other ways to earn its revenue, it is basically establishing its base of support through all of the activities that it does. Not only the ticket sales, but the rental activity that takes place, and a lot of the other ancillary revenues that we help generate to support the ongoing operation of Overture.
So how did you do it? I mean, did you change marketing approach? Did you change dates when it's available for rental? I mean, what's your strategy here?
It's always an ongoing process, and my role right now is really to fine-tune the process, to look at other ways in which we can earn additional revenue. And it could be looking at our program mix, for instance, looking at some things that are not coming to Madison right now, either at Overture or perhaps at some of the other venues, and looking to see if there's opportunities where we can bring in some type of performance or activity that people are willing to pay for in terms of ticket sales, or to support in terms of contributed revenue. Like I said, we look at all of the other ancillary revenues as well. For instance, food and beverage. Are there opportunities that we're missing? Are we not earning enough from our bar sales, for instance? Or is there other revenue opportunities in the rental of activities of the building that we could take advantage of? Interestingly enough, we have started to work with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and working with them to make sure that Overture is on the list of venues within the community that the CVB is using to sell Madison as a destination, either as a tourist destination or as a place for conventions and meetings. We not only want to capture some business from activities that will come to Madison, but we also want to help contribute towards the other activities that might come to Monona Terrace or to the Alliant Energy Center or to elsewhere in the community, the other hotels in town, to make sure that there is opportunity for everybody. And I think by helping everyone else, we're also going to be helping ourselves in terms of our long-term viability and opportunities that may be there that we are presently missing.
Right. When we come back, we're going to take a look back at Billy Elliot. We'll look ahead to Jersey Boys with Ted DeDee right after this.
It was a home run for me to be able to say, Madison, is that the next place that we want to go to? And it was a resounding yes. This community has always supported the arts. It's valued the arts. It's been part of the elements of the quality of life in this community. We've already got
Ted DeDee, the president and CEO of Overture Center for the Arts, my guest on For the Record this morning, and that was in February when Ted was introduced as the new head of Overture. So last week, Billy Elliot, very popular play, finally came to Madison after a delay. The delay put it in the summer, which I guess is slightly unusual, right? But it was a big success.
It's very unusual that we have activity at Overture during the summertime, but it was a huge success. And it really proved to us that people would be interested in coming to Overture for activities in the summer months and paying for tickets if it was something that was of interest to them. Billy Elliot is a great Broadway title. It was a great cast that came to Madison. They put on a wonderful performance. And during the course of the week, word of mouth spread, and it helped to produce additional ticket sales for us for the final performances over the weekend. So we were very, very pleased. I know our audiences were pleased as well. And the cast of Billy Elliot was very pleased by the response that they got here in Madison.
So what are you thinking about summer bookings?
It's looking like an opportunity for us, quite frankly. As I'm now getting out in the community and meeting a lot of people, one of the common questions I get is, why aren't there more activities at Overture in the summer months? And quite frankly, I have to say, I don't know, and it's something that's worth looking at. And Billy Elliot was, I'm hoping, will be a bellwether for us to be able to look at other opportunities like that in the future.
So when we look at just now in the beginning of your tenure, Ted, Billy Elliot this summer, then the long run of Jersey Boys coming up. What is it about those shows that people should see as indicative of what Overture will offer?
I think those shows represent a common interest that the general North American population has in a title of a Broadway show or a subject matter of a Broadway show that is universal. It speaks to everyone. Jersey Boys certainly does that. A lot of people in my generation, your generation, have grown up with the music of the Four Seasons. And to sit and watch a show like Jersey Boys and relive some of that music is absolutely a wonderful nostalgia piece, and it's a feel-good piece as well. There's a storyline, it's a true storyline that a lot of people don't realize, things that were going on behind the scenes with the life of Frankie Valli and his colleagues. And so it's part historic, it's part a wonderful human interest story, and it's great feel-good music that everybody can sing along to, and and really leaves people leaving the theater singing all the songs as they leave.
How are the decisions made, Ted, and what role do you play in deciding who's...
Personally, I work with a team of individuals within Overture, and then we also work with our Broadway partners, Broadway Across America, that works in a number of markets throughout the country to bring Broadway shows to local communities. Our team looks at a long list of Broadway shows that will be touring. Right now we're starting to look at the 13-14 season and what we know will be touring at that time, and trying to match up the weeks that we have set aside in our schedule for Overture Hall with the weeks that shows are going to be touring, and hopefully will be routed in such a way that we will be able to take advantage of them when they're coming into the upper Midwest area.
Does market size affect the decision at all? Are there shows that just wouldn't come here because we're too small?
Not necessarily. There are shows that may take a few years to get to Madison, only because they are so popular that it makes sense for them to play in larger markets. Yep. Those are typically Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, obviously, and Toronto. Then those shows will go touring to some of the other major markets around the country, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Seattle, the Miami or the Florida area, Boston. And generally we then get the opportunity on the third tour opportunity after a couple of years.
That's interesting. I was in Seattle last week, and Book of Mormon, I think, is like January of 13, maybe, in Seattle.
It is.
Was up on a building. Is it touring at all yet?
It will be touring starting this fall.
First time this fall.
And again, it will be playing the major markets first.
Yep.
And then
so that's when that could be 3-4 years before it would come to Madison.
It could. Hopefully we are now in a position of, we've created an established base of subscribers to our Broadway shows at Overture that is now surpassing the subscriber base in Milwaukee and in Appleton. So it puts us in a better position to be able to compete against those markets and some other markets in the upper Midwest, perhaps even Minneapolis-St. Paul, to be able to get some Broadway shows here in Madison before going somewhere else. And of course the opportunity there is to be able to attract people from those other regions to Madison to come to see a show like Jersey Boys that may appear here first before going elsewhere.
Rent is in Seattle right now, and we had a better cast when it came here a year ago. We'll be back with Ted DeDee right after this. My guest this morning is Ted DeDee, the new president and CEO of Overture Center for the Arts. Fresh off of a successful fundraising campaign by a very committed group of community volunteers who really were passionate about it, and of course Janet Perino, who many of us know from the mayor's office, who was is now the development director.
She's our vice president for advancement and heads our development team and works very closely with Betty Custer Harris on our board, who's the chair of the development committee, and with a dedicated group of people on our development committee to meet individuals who are interested in supporting what we do.
Great community leaders. You mentioned earlier a little bit about other venues, and just in the time we have remaining, Ted, I'd like you to talk about sort of the environment here now for the arts in Madison. And certainly the economy and the recovery from the recession are all still top of mind for us. But in terms of the university's goals and desires, in terms of the growing independent arts culture that we have here, how do you see the role of Overture in your relationship with the whole sort of pantheon of arts in Dane County?
I see Overture as being a leader within the context of the overall arts activity that takes place in Madison and Dane County. It is one of several leaders, and you've mentioned the university as a primary leader as well, and certainly the resident organizations that perform at Overture are leaders in the arts community as well. But you're right, Madison has this wonderful wealth of a lot of for-profit and non-for-profit and volunteer community of amateur activity activity all throughout the community that's absolutely wonderful and delightful to see that level of interest. I think Overture, over a period of time, needs to continue to evaluate its role in the community and how it can not only help lead but help support the rest of the community as well, and support it in a number of different ways, and making sure that first and foremost Overture and the arts community feels as though there's a symbiotic relationship with one another, and that Overture feels accessible to the arts community. There's only so much we can do within the community, but I think part of our success in the community is for Overture to be able to work with various elements within the community, a lot of the other arts activities, a lot of the other venues in town, as well as some of the other non-arts activity that takes place that support other community interests. The activities that takes place in the libraries or the community centers, or that other nonprofits support other needs within the community. I think in the long term, Overture can be even more successful by making sure that it is relevant to a larger percentage of the population than it is now. I've always been struck by not only the number of people that come and buy tickets for activities that come to Overture, but by the number of people, close to 250,000 a year, that come to free and reduced cost programs that take place in Overture each year. What I'm looking at is the number of people that Overture is not serving currently within the community, and finding ways in which we as an arts leader can be more relevant to people in areas that we are not relevant right now, and touching more people's lives that we're not touching at this point.
Yep. The new season is out. People, the subscriptions are available.
Subscriptions are available. They're actually, I wouldn't say going through the roof, but we've got such a strong response, stronger than last year, and rightly so, because it is a stronger season in Broadway shows, as well as our non-Broadway presentations as well. Across the board, the response is great. Part of that's due to the economy. People are feeling a little bit more at ease to be able to spend money for activities. Part of it's due to the programming. It's great programming and opportunities that people have to come see some wonderful things under the Overture roof. And great things that the resident groups are doing as well. I'm just marvel at the creativity and the artistic integrity and the fortitude that the resident organizations Overture have in producing what they do, and the response that they're having from the community. So it's all good. We're trying to still be a little bit cautious and make sure we're being very purposeful as we're going forward in terms of our programming and in terms of our fundraising, everything that we're doing. So it's the future is looking bright.
Ted, thanks very much.
My pleasure.
Enjoyed having you on. We'll do it again.
Okay.
We'll come back and wrap up For the Record right after this. My thanks to Ted DeDee for joining us this morning. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Sunday for The Record.